All right, tinkering on the 99 F350 a little bit today. It's pissing me off again. I got gremlins. But what do you expect? 313,000 miles. I think it's entitled to have some gremlins in it. Anyway, if you get in your truck and you turn the key and, well, turn the key to the run position and all your lights and everything come on, and then you turn to the start position and nothing happens, okay? Total ghosts. Now, it could be several problems. Usually, in my experience, it's a bad ground. But it could be solenoids, all sorts of stuff. But one other thing you need to check is your ignition switch. Mine, for several months, has been getting finicky to where I've got to sit there and work the key and get it just right, and then it'll start. And it finally got to where it wouldn't start at all. Now, it's done this to me before. It's been doing this for several months, like I said. And when it wouldn't start at all, in a move of desperation, I would crawl underneath and I would just jump the starter solenoid. Well, I tried to do that yesterday, and even that wouldn't work. Well, I got out and checked, and my batteries were actually dead. I don't know, one went bad, both went bad, magically overnight, don't know, don't care. Took them into town, got 2 brand new batteries. One was still under warranty, and the other one I don't think I've ever replaced, so it is what it is. Anyway, I wanted to show you guys, so I put brand new batteries in, I put a new starter on it last week. Get in after the new batteries, nothing. Turn the key, nothing happens. So this is your ignition switch, and I just wanted to show this to you guys in case you're not familiar. When you turn your key to the accessory position, that's that, okay? And when you turn it to the start position, you just push it a little bit further forward. And see, mine is not wanting to make contact. There it goes. See? So that, and mine seems really, really tight. It's really tight, like it doesn't slide smooth. Like I have to fight it, and it clicks and then snaps. So I just sat there and worked it back and forth. I took this main wiring harness out. You have to take this bolt loose. Took this main plug out right here, and just sprayed electrical cleaner in there everywhere that I could and worked this thing back and forth, and it never really got any easier, but at least now I can maybe. So yeah, what I'm doing right now is basically just turning my key to the start position. There we go. So I'm bypassing the key. I still have to turn the key on to unlock the steering column. But at least I did this for now. I'm gonna go to town and get a new one of these switches. I replaced this one a year ago because I thought it was bad. And back then it wasn't. Maybe now it is. I don't know, but I'll go to town when I get a chance, get another one of these, and just replace it again. I'm gonna check the new one when I get it and see if it feels that tight or if it has a little bit easier movement to it. I think it's just something in there is a little bent or a little out of line. I really don't know. That all looks fine. But you know, like I said, anyway, I just wanted to show that to you guys. If you're battling that, if you're turning your ignition and nothing's happening, it could be that little ignition switch. It's super easy plug and play. It just bolts up under your steering column. These two, on my truck anyway, they're star heads. I think they're T30. But take that down and then take this nut loose. You slide that wiring harness apart, clean it, tinker with it a whole bunch, and see if maybe that's your issue. I don't remember how much it cost last time. I'm gonna guess 20-30 bucks, something like that. But we're gonna replace it again and see if that doesn't get my truck back to starting like it's supposed to. So I just replaced that start switch, and like I told you guys, it's just, you just take that bolt loose here, and this whole wiring harness comes apart. So it's a big heavy duty. When you go to plug it back together, just make sure that all your pins in here are straight up and down, because those pins will get bent sometimes, just handling, people picking them over in the store, looking at them, they get bent, whatever, or you fidgeting with it can bend them. So make sure all your pins are straight up and down. And when you slide it together, it's going to feel like, you know, you can't get it to go in. And you're like, man, I must have a bent pin, but you don't necessarily. It's just this bolt will tag up, and so you have to just start hand, you know, just I use just an extension here. Let me show you. So I just use an extension on my little nut there, just so I've got a little bit of grip, and just start, you know, doing it in by hand to make sure you're not cross-threading anything, and you'll see it start to pull that together. So anyway, the old one, you know, I was fighting with it, and it's pretty tight, but see, it's still, so that's the accessory, and then that's the start. And when you go to start, man, it's like, it's really hard. Like, it made my thumb hurt. I had to put on gloves to get it to push. So we're gonna try this new one, and it is springy, but there's our accessory, there's our start. So there you're off, come backwards. That's accessory mode, which my windshield wipers are on. I don't know if you guys heard them or not. Radio's not on, so one click about there. There is off. There's when you start to break it loose, so your steering column's broke loose. Now you're in forward accessory. Start. That's working much, much better. So, now, oops. Now, the only thing is, we go back to the off position, and make sure that your ignition here is in the off position, because honestly, all your key does, this key tumbler doesn't do anything as far as actually engaging anything. So with that switch out, this thing just turns stupid easy, okay? When you turn your key and you feel that ignition tumbler actually move, I'll show you. Look up under here, and there's, let's see if I can get the light up here. Right. Well, maybe it's not gonna, right here. Are you guys not gonna be able to see that? Oh, the wrong spot. See that white right there? That's just a plastic slide that's in your steering column. So watch that. When I turn my key, see it moving? That's all that does. So that plastic slide, and there's a slot in it right there, a little pinhole. That's where this bolt goes right here. So make sure your key is in the off position, and make sure this pin is in the off position. Otherwise, when you go try to put that up under there, it's not gonna fit. So just make sure they're in the right position. It sets right up under there. Got my finger over the camera. Whoops, sorry, I'm doing a bad job. So it just sets right up in there, and then there's just those two bolts. It comes with two new bolts. I can't do that one-handed, but two new bolts. Like I said, they're a T30 head. So I'm gonna put this camera down. We're gonna get those put in, and then try it with the actual key to start the truck. All right, two bolts, nice and easy. Oh man, look at that freaking mud. Guess that's from my running boards. Anyway, bolted up under there real easy. Live action. Oh, so easy. No fighting with it at all. I'm telling y'all, I was laying on that thing, twisting this forward to the point that I felt like I was going to break my ignition off. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. There have been way too many times that I crawled under my truck in a parking lot and I jumped the starter because of that stupid key switch, and I thought it was a solenoid somewhere else, and it was just that key switch. I'm going to try. This one here is, it's like riveted together. But I'm going to try to bust it apart because it's junk, and see if I can see anything in here to tell me why it's freaking stiff. I imagine it's just corroded. I used to have, my headliner's falling down. My cab lights up top were leaking, and when we get a real hard rain, they would leak, and that water would run down inside my A-pillar here. And I would get in some days after a real hard rain, I would get in and my fans would be on, my radio would be playing, and it would short out my fuse panel. So I imagine they probably got some water inside that ignition somehow at some point and it made it tight. But I'm going to try to tear it apart and see if I can find anything to show you guys. Alright, so I tore this thing apart, and I figured I would just show you guys the inner workings just for fun. Not that any of it really matters. But when you break it in half, now there's this little ball bearing rolling around in there. I don't know where that thing goes or where it belongs. Maybe it's not supposed to be in there. I don't know. I can't find anywhere obvious for it to be. Maybe it goes under there. But there's these two springs in here, and those are what fight you when you go to the start position. So that's what gives you your springiness. And maybe that ball bearing somehow fell out of where it was supposed to be, and you know, was blocking it up, keeping it from going all the way together. I don't really think so. I think maybe that little ball rode somewhere underneath here. Just like I said, I don't know why, but anyway. So there's nothing really dragging. I mean, it's just plastic. There was no significant corrosion. But the other thing to look at is these let's see here. This way, right? Yeah, so when you shift it back and forth, here's all your contactors underneath here, these plates, and all these little pads, they're all on springs actually, so you can push that in. So these little pieces wiggle around on springs to try to make sure that spring is supposed to always push up on these plates. But at the same time, there's keepers, right? So these things are kind of hooked in there, like they're not. That spring should make that one fly out of there right now. I had one up, this one came out unexpectedly. But so there's some wiggle, but at the same time there's keepers. So if these things are worn down a little bit or flattened off a little bit somehow over time, or if this thing gets worn like with a bend in it, it might just not make good contact. And so when I'm looking here at how it was together, like that, then you look at these here, how these look scorched. Those are probably the main, the main contacts that are actually arcing power. Like I said, I don't know which one's which, but because they're a little scorched like that, that's not corrosion. I can't scrape it off. Maybe I can a little bit. But see, that's what I was trying to clean earlier. I took this thing out and I was jutting electrical cleaner in there and working it back and forth. But you can't really get it in there to do anything. And like I said, there's not really any corrosion in there that I think was causing any problems. I think it just wasn't getting good contact. Just for whatever reason, those little springs are wore out, or who knows. So, for as simple as this thing is, it's kind of intricate, and so there are some little sensitive characters. The springs in it, primarily, I think that's probably what it was these little springs that are underneath those plates. If those springs are wore out, you're just not going to get as good a contact. So, you can't rebuild this thing. It's not worth rebuilding if yours goes out. This one cost me $25 and it's got a lifetime warranty. Okay, so you're not gonna rebuild them. I guess if you're trying to be real cheap, maybe you can go to a junkyard and pull one out of an old truck if you need one. But yeah, for me, just replaced it, and I'm tickled because now my truck starts like it's supposed to. Of course, you know me. I've fought with it and I've cussed at it for months and months, to the point that it's more or less stranded me. I mean, granted, yesterday it really did have a dead battery, but yesterday really screwed me, because I ended up having to pay my buddy to help me move logs because the truck wouldn't start. But by God, he's starting now.